Welcome to Picks with the Professor, the sports betting show brought to you by a real statistics professor. Cousin Jared, we are live. YouTube. I don't even know what we're doing here, but here we are.
Yeah, this is like one of maybe the number one example I've ever seen of felt cute, might delete later. Who knows how long this is going to last? But we just felt like going live, so figured we would.
We've talked about doing this as a thing. So if we presume no one's going to be here right now because no one knew this is coming. I just sent out a tweet. I don't even know if people can find this. We'll have to see about that. There is a way to get it to live stream onto Twitter, but we have to change some settings, and so we'll see how that goes. We should be able to we did this before a long time ago. There's a chat here, and so I think people can submit questions. And so we've talked about doing this every night and just seeing how it goes, and then people can ask questions about different games, and then of course you'll still be able to watch it later. Like always, we'll just put this. So we'll see how it goes. And if you're watching it later and you like the idea and you know about it ahead of time, now we'll kind of try to keep the times consistent. Let us know what your thoughts are, and we'll go from there. We're a weekend of college basketball. It's already been up and down because of Jared. It's the most frustrating thing about college basketball is having a great night and then a terrible night and then a great night and a terrible night. We did that all last year, really, with the social media plays, just right around even. We did really well with the top play. So far, the top plays are doing well again. So hopefully we can get the honorable mentions to follow suit. Do you have any observations after 1 week of college basketball?
I feel like things are already beginning to regulate themselves, is what I would say. So the first couple of days, really, we saw favorites doing well. We saw the overs doing really well. And then as things have gone along, just kind of more ho-hum, more normal than what we saw those first couple of nights. So now still trying to just figure everything out. Jake is the college basketball guru. I'm the guy who more just watches sidelines. So we talk about sample sizes. While there's a lot of basketball games to be played, still not a large sample size on any individual team. So still trying to figure out what sideline strengths and weaknesses are relative to a specific team.
And we'll talk specifically about that with the first game that we cover here for Tuesday. We've got three really interesting games, three really good games. Of course, the two in Atlanta we will cover. Of note, we don't have a huge sample size on any one individual team, as you said. We have seen some bigger trends both in the college basketball world and in the model so far, and that'll be interesting to track as well. I think I saw a stat recently here, I don't know, Monday or so, maybe before the game started on Monday, that favorites and underdogs were literally 50-50. But in the model's case, the A grade, favorites have done a lot better than the underdogs, or there's something like that. So we'll kind of track that and try to figure out too, like you said, where the model strengths are from a macro level, and then also from the micro level with the individual team. So a lot to track as we move forward. Again, we've got the Honor Roll All Access package with Discord chat, projections, probabilities, price thresholds, all sorts of goodies, summarized notes on every single game, including even when there's 50 or 100, doesn't really matter. The link in the show description will get you half off your first month, and we have sport-specific packages as well. Quick reminders about the model. It's a player-based model, so the ratings reflect the current roster. Average grades 100 higher implies more points, so offense would be higher, defense is lower. We are projecting an average game. One game, we have no idea what will happen. What we mean is that when we say 55% winners, they will win 11 times and lose 9. And so we're going to lose a bunch of picks. That's fine. But we always are looking to make more when we win than we lose when we lose. That's what we've done in the long run with just about every sport here as of the last few years, which has been great. The reason why we can do that is because we know anything is a good bet at the right price or number. And that's, again, what we'll talk about here throughout the show and what we constantly are talking about in our picks at over on Discord. The model gives A, B, or C love like lean. We choose the plays. Cousin Jared, let's get to it. An early tip here, 5 p.m. Eastern, Villanova at St. Joseph's. Cousin Jared, I have one main thought on this. That's Villanova. Still going slow, but scoring a lot of points, 3-0 to the over this year. Look at the difference between the offensive and defensive ranks there for the two teams. We're going to go over on this one. The model says the average game has 150 points. So we're going to go over 143.5 with an A grade, one of our top plays for the night. According to Sideline, the third most interesting game, the most interesting game behind the two in Atlanta and a fun one that tips off a little bit earlier. So we should be able to have some eyeballs on this one. What's your take for this over?
So maybe Villanova's offense here is not too far removed from what we are used to Villanova's offense being. It's never been, necessarily one of the really top ones, but it's always been a really solid offense, maybe somewhere between like 20 and 40, something like that. That defense being number 101, I feel like is a departure from what we're used to seeing with Villanova. And we talk about this a lot in the college football show, but like all these numbers are relative, right? And so when you're talking about a high level college basketball team that has the number 101 defense in all of Division I basketball, like relative to most of the competition that they're going to be playing, they might have sometimes where they definitely struggle. I think that, lack of defense early in the season is what's hurting Villanova here, because obviously we can see their pace is really slow. St. Joe's, it'll go a little bit faster than that because St. Joe's is going to play a little bit of a quicker pace, but still same kind of thing. Like relative to the competition, St. Joe's defense not that great either. So I think this game will be obviously faster than what Villanova wants to play. But I just don't think either defense is going to be able to get enough stops, especially when you look at how well the Villanova offense has been playing so far this season.
Yeah, and we've talked about it specifically with Villanova. They're one of those teams that does seem like in the non-conference a little bit more willing to let loose and then maybe really grind that pace down. That pace is almost like a tale of two things. Not that they play fast in non-conference, but they're willing to go a little bit more at your speed, whereas conference play comes, and a lot of those conference teams we see, and they're like, we are not going your speed. We are going to grind this game to a halt. And they seem less intent maybe to do that. In the non-conference, again, doesn't guarantee anything. Teams can have cold nights, right? That's why we always say there's no locks in gambling. But the idea is that we are thinking that the books just haven't really caught up to this, like I said, lack of good defense from Villanova that we're used to seeing. And so we're going to go over 143.5. A-grade plays, we're thinking 150. But folks, as always, shop around. We saw it tonight, actually. We had Pittsburgh. We have Pittsburgh minus 18.5 here on Monday night. They ended up putting by 19. I know that line went up to around 20 or so as the day went along. And so it's why we always encourage people to shop around, get the best number you can get. 2 out of 3 times or so, it tends to go towards the model. So we try to say get them as fast as possible. We always hope that the number never moves. We can't control that when it moves and how much it moves, unfortunately. Yep. And so just a good reminder, always have multiple books to shop around at. If you don't have an account there yet, sign up at BetUS today.
And I always hate to give the books credit, but that Creighton total we had on Sunday, we got over 164. I don't know where it ended up closing at. The game got to 166. And so, in college football, we talk so much about those key numbers. In basketball, it's like every number, every single one. Yeah,
exactly. And that was, I think it got up closer to 170. So it's the same thing as this. So it's going to happen a lot, especially with the big sample size like this. So always be shopping around. If you aren't already doing that, again, 3 or 4 accounts is almost a must to help you with your sports betting. The 2 key marquee games of the night here. The first one, Michigan State against Kansas, again, played in Atlanta. We've got this as Kansas minus 8.5. We're going to lay it at 5.5 as an A grade with Kansas. I really like this play. The model loves Kansas. It has a number 5, but they were flirting with number 1 realistically. A couple of teams have looked really good. Auburn specifically has looked really good so far, and so they've kind of jumped up there a little bit. But this Kansas team, the model really likes, which is interesting compared to last year where, again, player-based model, when they started having injuries last year, the model was like, oh my gosh, like had them down in the 30s, 40s, way down there.
And if I recall correctly, like Kansas had a really short bench last year. Once the injuries piled up and everything, it was like they had a good top 5, maybe a 6th guy, and then after that, that was basically nothing.
Yeah, and so it was interesting. The model really caught that last year. This year's really high on Kansas. We'll see if the depth holds up, et cetera. Right, there's a lot of long season, but so far, the model's really hot on this Kansas team. And Michigan State, we still think is a step behind, and so we're going to lay the 5.5. With the Jayhawks here. I love laying a number like this because if it gets out of hand, it's possible. Again, we have Kansas winning by an average of almost double digits, so it could get out of hand and we cruise to victory. If not, we still have a chance to get there with late fouls when you lay a number like this. We always say 7's kind of your cut point-ish. So as long as you're less than 7, it would not be crazy to see late fouls get you there. Obviously, if it's a 1-score game, we don't win that one. But there's still a lot of ways we can get to the window here with what we think is the far superior team in Kansas. Because Jared, what's your take?
Yeah, and I would. So one thing that you said there, getting there with fouls. If Michigan State does what they probably want to do, which is ugly this game up a little bit, play it a little bit slower, more defensive focus, I still think that we can get there with fouls. But for me, this is just more about believing that both these teams are going to do what they normally do, which is Michigan State tends to just start the season slow. I mean, how many times have the first few weeks of the season, Michigan State's gone to one of these tournaments and not necessarily looked great, or they had a blowout loss in New York at Madison Square Garden to some team. And they are just one of those teams that usually gets better as the season goes on. And of course, once they get to late into conference play and into the conference tournament, not necessarily a team that you want to face. Sorry, that's not going to work against Kansas. This Kansas team this early in the season. I think this Kansas team is really good, and I think they're going to want to come out and show, exactly how good they are against a team of the caliber of Michigan State. So I think Kansas probably wins this game by double digits, but knowing if Michigan State's able to keep us close, the fact that we can get some fouls there to get us over this number, I feel good about.
And, you make a good point there. And I'm sure someone can come and tell us the exact year where this didn't happen, but it does seem like there are a lot of years that Michigan State is ranked early. I feel like it's Duke. I feel like they lose in Madison Square Garden to Duke.
Yeah.
Maybe that's just like one year that happened. They get destroyed. They lose to some random team. They fall out of the top 25. Everyone gives up on them, and then they start making a run. And then they, and obviously that's not every single year, and you never know what'll happen. But it does seem like that's more common than not that, Izzo's a guy who is just worried about getting his team prepped for March. He's not the only coach that's done that. We've seen it to the extremes, even with Texas Southern, who has been a great example of a team that for many years kind of hacked the system and figured out we don't really care at all about non-conference. We're going to play really tough teams. We're going to figure out what we've got, and then come conference season time, they turn it on. Then they even got like next level the last few years and said we don't even care in conference. We're just waiting for the conference tournament to turn it on. Right? And so
not sure that's the best strategy, but it has worked for them
until they go to what was it? Is it the MAC or who is it that? No, the Sun Belt. The Sun Belt has like quadruple buys or something now. Like, so until you go to something like that, it really doesn't matter. That one was, if you haven't seen that bracket, it's like, if you're at the bottom, you got to win like 7 games in 7 days to win the tournament. It's crazy. But Michigan State definitely seems in that regard, a team that is just focused on, we're going to have the talent to get there in March. That's when we want to be peaking. And so if that shows up here against this Kansas team, that's, like you said, that's not going to fly with how much talent they've got. So we're going to lay at 5.5 with Kansas. Just a reminder, if you are interested in supporting the show in a different way than the all access package, which has all the goodies, all the details, everything, the picks only package is $19.99 per month. You can get your first month for only $9.99, just the picks. And it does delineate which ones are the top plays. So those you like to scale differently or have even fewer plays, that is one option that you have. So check that out. That link in the show description to get you your first month for only $9.99 is available in the link. That link's available in the show description. Last game, Duke and Kentucky, the nightcap to the games in Atlanta. You've got two pretty good offenses here, two pretty good defenses, but two offenses that can really take over. Duke in an efficient sort of manner. They aren't going to go up and down the court as much as they just have so much talent offensively. They're going to score all the time. Kentucky, offense not quite as strong, but the pace they want to play at. You mentioned the last game. If the teams are doing what they want to do, if Kentucky's doing what they want to do, they're going to have a lot of possessions. If Duke's doing what they want to do, they're going to be really efficient and score on a lot of those possessions. That's a recipe for a lot of points. We think the average game has about 168 points. It worked for us all last season when we got these really good teams that didn't really want to slow it down. The books tended to stay about 5 points too low on the average total. It doesn't work for every single game. But in the long run, this was one of our more profitable angles, is just taking good teams with good offenses and going over. And the model says that we should be going over 162 here, A grade play, as the model thinks it's about 6 points shy of what it should be. Cousin Jared, what's your take?
So outside of this specific game, I guess, for this specific game, Duke has the number 3 rated offense. We were talking before we came on the show. I wanted to know who number 1 was. Sideline thinks it's Gonzaga. Okay, I will admit we're picking nits at this point. A very small discrepancy between the two. I may be of the opinion that Duke has the best offense in college basketball so far this season.
They're tied. They're tied, or they're rounding error with what I pulled from the screen with Purdue as the other team that's right there with them. Also, another what we expect pretty good offense.
Yeah, and somebody in the chat here brought up Cooper Flagg. Cooper Flagg, very, very good. People like him make a huge difference, of course. I know that you should not pay attention to exhibition games, but as we were getting ready for college basketball season, I, just took a peek at a Duke and Arizona State exhibition match that they played. Duke scored 103 points against Arizona State, so not like a pushover team. They scored 66 points in the second half. They shot 50% from three. They shot 54% overall. They forced 18 turnovers. Like, I understand that's an exhibition,
right?
But Arizona State, a bad opponent. This is not one of your normal teams that you would play in an exhibition. You're not playing East Southwest U, and sorry for that school if that exists out there. This Duke offense, some of the things that this Duke offense has done in a very small sample size, it is like would almost be such an outlier that you almost have to think like, this may still be an outlier, but maybe they're mean or median. I don't know. You tell me whatever the right term is there. Maybe
I'm just let you go with it.
Yeah, it needs to be shifted a little bit because what we've seen so far has been so far outside the realm of a normal team. So I'm just very, very high on this Duke offense. Of course, I always like to say defense wins championships. I'm sure once we get into the tournament and conference play, we've talked about how some of these teams change how they play. I'm sure Duke season will go as they're able to play, solid defense in conference play and once they get into the tournament. But I'm really, really high on this Duke team, especially the Duke offense. I think this game against Kentucky is just absolute like fertile ground for there to be lots and lots of points.
Yeah, I think so too. Kentucky had those like 3 games in a row last year where they were like, let's play defense. And that was really weird. And they went flying under. Flying over? What's under? Strong breaks under. I don't know what you would call it.
Yeah.
Whatever it was, it wasn't even close on the unders. And they lost like that 3rd game and they were like, nah, let's screw that. And they went back to scoring again. So as long as we don't have one of those random games, we do expect a lot of points here. I think with Duke's offense, you make a good point about something with the scrimmage. It's kind of the cousin of the idea that we always say, like, all data is useful data. We just have to put it in the right context. And what I mean by that is, you play a really bad team and how you look matters, right? We all can agree on that. If you play, no offense to them, but the IU Indies of the world, the Mississippi Valley States of the world, and you only win by 3 points, that says something, right? And if you win by 40, that doesn't necessarily mean you should be number one. That you took care of business against a weaker team is useful data, right? And it's almost the same thing in the exhibition. Take it a step further, right? We want to discount it a little bit more, but it's that same sort of thing. The fact that you were able to do that, it doesn't necessarily mean you are the best team out there, but it's like, it is an indication of what can happen potentially. Yeah. And so that gives you a little bit more information there. And that's the thing with this Duke offense is, like you said, the sky's kind of the limit with what they've got. And Cooper Flagg, of course, the talk of the town there. One of the better offenses in the country and a Kentucky team that loves to score. So we're going to go over 162 for that one for our A grade play. That's all we've got here for the 3 picks we're going to do on the show. In the future, maybe we'll field some, because how do you feel if someone were to just ask you about a random game? You want to field that question, see if anybody pulls one of those?
I mean, sure, I guess. The other thing I would say is if you've got a college football question, sure, I can pull that as well.
NFL, we can do whatever, right?
Yeah.
You cut out on my end there. I don't know if you cut on everybody else's end or not.
I'm sure I probably did. Probably.
Yeah. We do have a bunch of other picks over there on Dub Club. So again, if you're interested in all of those, check that out. Otherwise, though, because your parting words before we sign out.
Go watch the college football show that was also just posted. Share with your friends. We'll do a live show for college football soon.
Yes, we've been talking. That was when we started talking about, and we'll go a little bit longer. And again, we'll field questions from the audience. So hopefully, with a little more awareness, people will know that it's happening. And we'll see how it goes. Hopefully, we'll have some fun. Baylor's beating Sam Houston. I don't think I doubt that one much. I don't know by how much, but if they didn't. That'd be the Baylor team. Houston is always a fun matchup for me. Two of my 3 alma maters, and so I've seen many a basketball game for both of those. But all right, that's we'll go ahead and sign off now. Again, hopefully we'll keep doing this. It'll be a lot of fun. We do thank you for watching. Special thanks for the people who were with us live. And as always, though, we wish you the best of luck and remind you that you can eat your betting money, but please